ambisexual image, if not an autosexual image. And of course nobody will know what autosexuality means.
I noticed that several of your songs make references to cars. The one you just did, Jeepster, earlier on, there's a verse about, I wrote it down, just like a car you're pleasing to behold, I'll call you Jaguar if I may be so bold.
I meant the animal, actually.
I see.
Marc as a lyricist was quite amazing. He would turn cars like Cadillacs and Chevrolets into monsters. You know, they would be a special kind of a Cadillac or a hot rod Ford or something like that. He just had the most incredible mind.
He was in love with language and the way that he could toss syllables together and toss colour together and somehow suggest sexual things and give you the idea of what it was like to have sex in a car with a couplet.
This next song is called Cadillac. What can you say what it's about?
It's not really about too much at all, actually. It's not about Cadillacs, for a start.
Nobody ever understood the lyrics. I mean, that was never important. He didn't know what he was singing about, I'm sure. It was just it just sounded good.
But Metal Guru was Marc's last #1. His reign was drawing to a close. His work seemed tired, and his audience tired of him.
David Bowie. Now, he changed all the time with the times. He had hit formulas, but he changed. You know, he opened them, closed them, broadened them, changed the sound, but he kept on changing. Marc thought that he had the hit formula forever, but he got slots in the thing that a comfortable thing that we all got a tendency to do. When things are comfortable, we don't try anymore. It's like relationships, isn't it?
He went downhill very, very fast. He really did lose the plot. I mean, it's terrible to say something negative about somebody who was once so great, when most people in life are never great. So if somebody can give you greatness for a few years, well, you should be happy with that. But I'm afraid he did really go a bit potty.
Marc's career had one final flourish. In 1977, he resurfaced with his own TV show, introducing punk to a tea-time audience and camp to children's television.
This is a new group called Generation X, who have a lead singer called Billy Idol, who's supposed to be as pretty as me. We'll see now. Generation X.
Perhaps he saw a way of getting the face back on the screen. Perhaps he was using me, but I didn't mind because his songs were so magical. They weren't teeny bopper in the way the other teeny boppers were completely, nursery rhymish almost. But Marc had magic in his work, like Ride a White Swan. Do you remember Ride a White Swan? Mystical. He was a mystic, I found, and in a way he had an affinity with children.
Ride it on out like a bird in the skyways. Ride it on out like you were a bird. Fly it on out like an eagle in a sunbeam. Ride it on out like you were a bird.
I met him when he was doing his Granada television shows in Manchester. And they say never meet your idols, but he really didn't let me down. And I spent the day with him there, and he kept saying, ask me questions, and I couldn't think of a thing to say. I remember I played in Buzzcocks, because I felt Marc Bolan to Buzzcocks. It was a clear link, and he loved it. You know, it's our bubblegum punch.
He always had time for us, you know, and he'd always stop and say hello. And I tell you, you know, in the times that we spent outside Granada, there were a lot of other famous people who came and went, who couldn't be bothered with you, or did say, you know, shut up, or did just blank you, whatever. And Marc always spent time. It's like he cared. He seemed to care about people, regardless of who they were.
Well, that's the end of show 1. I hope you enjoyed it. Just remember, keep a little Marc in your heart and watch the same Marc time, same Marc channel.
I dance myself out of the moon. I dance myself.
My brother called me 6 o'clock in the morning. I just couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it.
I dance myself into the tube.
My mum woke me up one morning. She did a lot that year. She told me my grandma was dead, and she was always three inches from my head. Your gran's dead. Elvis Presley's dead. Marc Bolan's dead. It was a Marc Bolan one that got me the most.
I mean, of all cars, I know it sounds funny to be killed, it was a Mini. And he never liked small cars because he didn't go along with his status as a rock star.
I think Marc Bolan sort of created all periods that there should be in pop culture. So he had his periods of striving and trying to make it and trying to assemble his act, his art. Then he had the 2 years of intense kind of beauty, the great run of hit singles that I don't think it can really be, you know, there's no equal to them. And then he went sad, you know, in a Presley type way. He went a bit fat, you know. He had his TV show that was a little bit embarrassing. I think it was important that happened in a sense. You know, he lived the life. He went for it, he had it, and then he lost it. It was the perfect story. And then he died. Just what he would have wanted.
So what's Bolan's legacy today, apart from a loyal fan club and the inevitable tribute band?
There's so many bands of today that purely and simply are, if they admit it, Prince, I mean, Prince, man, he's got to be a Marc Bolan fan. He's got to be, there's no doubt about it. He just needs to be drawn out a little bit.
Marc Bolan influenced punk, he influenced Prince, you know, right up to the present day, you know, any music you like now from Beck to Radiohead, I can hear Marc Bolan in there, I can feel that, you know, influence that he had, the love of life, the love of the spell of the pop single. You know, for me it was the most amazing thing because he understood that the pop song at its best is a spell.
Panic on the streets of London, panic on the streets of Birmingham.
And everything's linked, and you know, everybody takes from the artists they love, and eventually you develop your own individuality, but at first you really do sap your sources dry.
Was Panic a tribute to Bolan?
No, not at all. No, it wasn't. It was just a little accident.
Anybody that's making a kind of guitar music that's still fresh, that's still sexy, you have to have an element of T.Rex in there to make it, you know, valid as we zoom into the 21st century. And I can always tell when they haven't. Manic Street Preachers, no T.Rex, crap, you know. Oasis, a bit of T.Rex in there, you know, okay, you know, I'll give them 6.
Take me.